Good morning, everyone. It's Miss Keel here. How are you? So, in yesterday's lesson, we talked about history in general, and we also spoke a lot about sourcing, what makes for a good source. We talked about corroboration, and now today we're going to start talking about context. So, the question I want to pose to you now, and even though I'm not talking to you in person, you could certainly think about it. What is your favorite TV show, and what happened on last week's episode? Now, in some TV shows, at the beginning of the show, it'll kind of give you a little brief clip about what happened on the prior episode. And when they're doing that, they're giving you what's called context. What happened on last week's episode that led to this episode? And that's what we're going to talk about today. But we're not going to talk about it with television shows. We're going to talk about it with the CRQ. Now, whether you're going to ninth grade or 10th grade, you should be familiar with what a CRQ is. And if you're not, I'm going to go over a brief overview of it right now. So today we're going to take a look at how do we ace the CRQ. We're just going to start looking at the different components of the CRQ. So this is the first part or first component of the CRQ that we're going to be going over for the next 3 lessons. So the first component of a CRQ is what's known as historical or geographic context, and that's what we're going to be taking a look at today. But just to go over the CRQ in general, it's a 3-part question. In the first question, you're going to be asked to identify and explain historical or geographic context, and that's what we're going to look at today. In the second part of the question, you're going to be asked to identify either a bias, point of view, audience, or purpose of a document. And in question 3, you're going to be asked to identify and explain the relationship between those 2 documents, okay? Causation, turning point, comparison. So today we're going to focus on historical and geographic context. So first, historical context, what that means, and a lot of kids get confused by this because they've never heard this term before, but very simply what it means is what led to that document. Okay, so you're looking in question 1, you're going to be looking at some sort of stimulus, a document, a map, a cartoon, and you're going to have to identify what led to that document. So you're not going to get the answer from the document itself, most likely. You're going to have to know prior knowledge, what happened before that document. And we'll take a look at an example in a minute. For geographic context, this refers to where that historical development is taking place and why it is taking place there. Okay, and again, we'll take a good look at a few examples of that. So when contextualizing an event, okay, historians, or you, because you're going to be acting as historians in our classes, try to answer the following questions. When did this happen? Where did it happen? And most importantly, why did it happen? So let's take a look at the first example on your handout. Now, this image should look very familiar to you because it's what we've all been experiencing the last few months since we left school in March. And if you look at the image, there's a caption underneath. So one thing I always suggest doing, whether it's a map, a source, a newspaper cover, or an image, is looking for any text that might give you some clues. Whether it's a title, the title of a newspaper, if it's a source, if it's a written source, who is writing this source, where is it coming from, to give you some contextual clues. So here we see it says, many New Yorkers are already wearing masks. Okay. So as we know, these individuals are wearing masks because of the, current coronavirus, right? So the question is asking us, using document 1, what were the historical circumstances that led to the development shown in this photograph? So basically, let's talk about what is this question asking? This question is asking you, what led to people wearing masks, okay? So we see the people wearing masks, okay? We know that this is happening because of the coronavirus. What led to this image, okay? The answer will not be in the image, document, or map. So in this case, the answer is not in this image. So what led to people wearing masks? So the answer, very simply, is, and you're going to write it into your handout, your document, the historical circumstances that led to this image is that the coronavirus is spreading around the world, and that's why individuals are beginning to wear masks. It's a pretty simple answer, what caused that, okay? Now you're going to do a few more examples with your teacher, and then I'm going to come back and explain your homework. Okay, so at this point, you've done several examples of both historical and geographic context with your teacher. And hopefully now you have a good grasp of what the question is asking you. So now you're going to create your own example of the first part of this CRQ. So you're going to pick a stimulus. It can be a picture from your own life or a picture you find online, a map, a newspaper article, a newspaper cover, a cartoon, political cartoon, anything really that you want to use that's appropriate. And you're going to answer the question. You will either pick historical or geographic context, not both, and answer the question based on your own stimulus. It does not have to be history related. Remember, this is a history class, right? We're prepping you for a social studies class, but in terms of what we're going to be doing the next few weeks, we're really focusing on skills. So if you pick something personal, that's fine. So I'll show you an example of mine. So this is one I created. This is my daughter, Maeve, and this is my stimulus, a picture of my daughter. And remember, let's look for some clues in the picture. She's dressed up. She is holding a diploma that says preschool diploma. This is from a few weeks ago. So this was at her preschool graduation. Now, the historical circumstances surrounding Maeve's graduation from preschool were that she attended class and completed all of her schoolwork throughout the course of the year. That's what led to her graduating. The fact that she went to school, she did all of her work, she hit certain benchmarks, and she was able to graduate from preschool. So this is a very simple example of historical circumstances, okay? What led to her graduating from preschool. And now what I want you to do is pick an example from your own life, or it can be history related if you'd like to do that, and create your own CRQ in the attached document. Have a good day, guys.